How should a woman behave so that a man is naturally drawn to her? In this video, we will talk about what influences a man's relationship with a woman, why some women manage to build wonderful, happy relationships, while others fail to establish any long-term relationships, which often results in either abuse or other issues, leaving the woman feeling unhappy in the relationship. So this video is exactly about that. So how should you behave to make a man drawn to you? The first thing you need to do is stop seeking your value in relationships. Often, women formulate phrases like, "I'll get married and become happy. Once I get married, I'll finally live the way I want. Once I get married, my husband will buy me everything I've dreamed of. I'll get married and my husband will take me places," and so on. In other words, a woman is already shifting some of her needs and expectations onto the man. What is happening now in such a situation? The woman immediately puts herself in the role of, say, a parasite. In other words, she cannot meet some of her basic needs on her own, and she expects that someone will come along through whom she can achieve this. And what happens? Men of a completely different order are attracted into her life. That is, if a woman tries to take something by force from a man, naturally, a man will appear who, in addition to giving something, will also take something away. A woman who can meet her basic needs, meaning she understands that she can earn for her desires on her own, has a place to live, and has food to eat, is not trying to build relationships from a state of deficit. She wants to build relationships from a state of abundance, meaning her basic needs are met. And she needs a man to be happier, meaning she is already happy. She knows how to live her life. She knows how to build relationships. And a man comes along who doesn't try to break her, doesn't try to take something from her, doesn't try to change her, doesn't try to burden her with anything extra. In other words, two individuals meet who develop together and move forward. But if you are initially in a position of deficit, that is, in a state of a parasite, a person who wants to take something, expecting a man to come and make you happy, to give you something, to come and bring happiness, no one will come and make you happy. Instead, an abuser might be attracted to such a relationship who will teach the woman to love herself and understand that she must make herself happy and create herself first. And only then, when she learns to make herself happy, will she be able to create happy relationships. If you recognize yourself in the phrase, that a real man should, this is again setting up future abusive relationships. We live in a world where no one owes anyone anything. People who engage in abuse should not be in relationships. If you want to build relationships from a point of abundance, then partners are in the relationship out of a desire to be together and a desire to do things for each other. In other words, creating relationships out of desire. So, not they owe me, but I want to do something for my partner. And the partner responds not because she has been whining to him for 3 days and nights, not because she has driven him crazy, but because he wants to do something for her out of desire, because she is wonderful, because he wants to share emotions and feelings with her and possibly give her some gifts. But a person starts doing this from a state of abundance, and this is a completely different level of relationships. Moving on, reciprocity. Reciprocity is the foundation of healthy relationships. If you want happy, healthy, and strong relationships, then feelings in the relationship must be mutual. Whenever one person in a relationship starts agreeing to take on a certain role because it is convenient, beneficial, or for some other reason, if the relationship is not mutual from the start, you are just wasting your time. How often does it happen, for example, that a woman, due to some kind of deficit, agrees to a relationship thinking that the man will fulfill her basic needs and she will be happy? In reality, happiness doesn't come. And it's like talking about a leaky mug. For example, if we imagine reciprocity in relationships as a whole mug, if you pour something into this mug, you can drink from it, meaning you pour and you drink. But if the mug is leaky, no matter how much you pour into it, it's about relationships where there is no reciprocity. No matter how much you pour into this mug, you won't drink anything from it. You won't get anything out of relationships where there is no reciprocity. Therefore, pay attention to what is happening in the relationship, what you are investing in the relationship, and what you are getting out of it. And one more thing. Consider that if you realize your relationship is not developing, that there are no feelings, no sincerity, no reciprocity, but no one is making the decision to end it, meaning the relationship exists out of inertia, It might be worth thinking that reviving a corpse is simply impossible. Sometimes girls ask themselves the question, how to get a guy back? And this question is already fundamentally wrong. Initially wrong. If there was a relationship and it fell apart then, even if you get the guy back, you will come to the same point again. Over time, the relationship will fall apart. It should be done in this case. Here, it is necessary to start over, but only if you have worked on yourself, your man, your boyfriend, has worked on himself, and you enter the relationship as different people, renewed, improved, and your relationship begins to develop in a completely different direction. But often, this does not happen. If you are asking how to get someone back, the question is already fundamentally flawed. It is necessary to work on yourself, for the guy to have the desire to work on himself, and then to enter into new relationships with the same person. Next, dynamo. This is what happens in relationships when, for example, a woman or girl starts using a man, or a man starts using a woman for their own purposes, interests, or selfish goals. But what happens at the moment when, for example, a woman uses a man who appears in her life, gives her gifts, and takes care of her? He wants to win her over because he likes her, but she does not consider him as a boyfriend, a man, or a husband. However, she is not against taking advantage of the benefits that this man, in his efforts to win her over, provides her. So he courts her beautifully, gives her some gifts. She doesn't tell him that nothing will come of it, but she accepts them. And what happens? What happens is that there is always a calculation. A person always pays for something. And even if a woman, for example, thinks she will dynamo him now, use some benefits, and maybe he will become someone, achieve some heights, then we'll see. And what happens at that moment? A woman just loses her life because she thinks she is a dynamo to the man, meaning she is kind of using him. She is closed off to other men because she is effectively in a relationship. And at that moment, when she could have been developing, focusing on herself and living her life, and could have been directed towards building healthy, happy, strong relationships. In other words, she could have met a man and there would have been proper development of the relationship with courtship, feelings, and emotions. She gave all of that up. So she thinks she is a dynamo, but in reality, she is dynamiting her own life. And this often becomes clear to a person later because a person ultimately receives in life exactly what they emit. And even if it seems that everything is going wrong, everything is actually happening exactly as it should. In other words, when a woman takes something, she will inevitably pay for it with something. And in this case, she pays with her time and happy, strong relationships, possibly in the future. Moving on, manipulations. Any manipulations in relationships lead to relationships becoming abusive. If you try to achieve something in a relationship through manipulations, you will receive the same manipulations in return. If you manipulate, it means you are being treated abusively. Therefore, if you enter into honest relationships, specifically in honest contact with yourself, then there is a high probability that the man in your relationships will be just as honest. That is, when you can talk about your feelings, talk about your emotions. If you want something, you talk about your feelings instead of pressuring or forcing someone to do what you need. For example, you do not manipulate with guilt, tears, and so on. And when you learn to communicate, your relationships develop harmoniously. That is, when you are open and honest in relationships. But when you resort to various kinds of manipulations, pressure, tantrums, and so on, you receive the same emotions in return in your life, just perhaps in a slightly different way. Therefore, pay attention to your interaction with the man, how you treat him, how you convey your emotions and feelings to him, how you express what you need, and how you interact. If your contact is sincere and honest, then your relationship is likely strong and developing harmoniously. And the last thing I want to say, be genuine in a relationship. Genuine people are loved and valued when you don't pretend to be someone else, when you don't imagine yourself to be someone you are not, and when you don't play any roles. People love the genuine because none of us like fakes. People are not fakes. We love things that are high quality and genuine. Same goes for people. A genuine person is like a diamond, like a diamond. It is immediately noticeable. If you are learning, discovering yourself, working on your feelings and emotions, trying to an honest contact with people, with yourself, with your partner, then you are studying this honesty, your genuineness. And it is precisely this genuineness that is the uniqueness of a person when there are no unnecessary constructs around them, no manipulations, no pretense. No need to play any roles. When a person knows themselves, understands themselves, and is true to themselves, that person becomes a real diamond, a true diamond for a man. A man loves and values such a woman. He sees her radiance, the authenticity that comes from within. Therefore, get to know yourself. Be yourself, don't play roles, and notice anything superficial in yourself, think about where it came from. Try to eradicate them, because any superficial constructs hinder the building of happy relationships in the future. That's all for this video. This was me, Elisa Vardomskaya. I hope for your likes and subscriptions. Write in the comments what you would like to discuss in my new videos. Don't forget to hit the bell, and goodbye everyone.